Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Truth. I'm your host, the one you love the most, Niall Hesson, back with a brand new episode here in The Truth. Back once again without my boy AJ Ponciano. Rather, I am by myself once again. I was really hoping that AJ was going to be able to come on here and we were going to be able to do a Thursday night show together, but unfortunately, that is just not the case going into this one here. So it's unfortunate to say the least. AJ is busy doing some other stuff right now. Totally not mad at him. Totally don't blame him or anything like that. I was just throwing it out there that he's not purposely avoiding working on these podcasts with me. I think he said he's got to go work the volleyball game there at Coso. So totally understandable. Not upset whatsoever. We're going to solo ride it once again. Hopefully, and I mean hopefully, we're able to get it squared away for tomorrow. And yeah, things are just going to be smooth from there, and we'll get back together, and it will be a nice reunion and things like that. But anyways, today I'm going to give you my Thursday night start, sit, sleepers, and bust for this upcoming matchup as the Dallas Cowboys travel to face an in-division rival in the New York Giants, the world famous New York Giants, to say the least. Today I got 3 starts, 1 sit, 2 sleepers, and 1 bust. So let's go ahead and hop into it. The first must start I have is Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson is the 13th ranked position tight end at the moment. He did not play in week 2 with that injury. Came back in week 3 nicely, 15.5 points. Week 1, a disappointing 4.5. Looking at Ferguson as a whole, he kind of reminds me of a wide receiver too for the Cowboys, just because CeeDee Lamb obviously is the number one. Brandon Cooks throughout the season has been disappointing. I mean, not necessarily disappointing. He had 14.5 in week 1, but relatively since that, he's been disappointing. I think Jake Ferguson does a good job of kind of fitting in that role there and being that number 2 option for Dak. Honestly, I haven't watched really any Cowboys games this season. I know CeeDee Lamb's gotten 4 and 5 catches in his 2 games, so I'm not really sure where Dak's throwing throwing the ball. I really don't know. So we'll have to see. One sec, guys. Sorry about that. I'll have to see, where the ball is going to go. But I think Jake Ferguson definitely has the potential to definitely step up into the mix there and be a safe start. Again, you guys know also how high I am on tight ends to go into Thursday night matchups. Conklin had a good week last week. I said he was a sleeper, and obviously the Patriots tight ends disappointed, but the Patriots offense is disappointed. Cowboys got good offense. I like Ferguson as a must start. Second must start, I'm going to go with Ezekiel Elliott. Now, this is a little bit interesting one, just because Zeke is just not been the Zeke that we'd expect from the Cowboys 5-7 years ago whenever Zeke was playing for Dallas. He has a 39th position ranked running back at the moment. He only had 2.2 fantasy points on 3 carries for 6 yards last week, which is disappointing. He's kind of gone on a downward trend backwards, it seems like. He hasn't had the success that you'd expect him to have. Last week, I mean, Dowdo had 8 for 32. So Dowdo's consistently got 8 to 7. He hasn't gotten much more. He hasn't gotten much less. Reception-wise, he gets a couple as well. Hasn't gotten over 10 fantasy points. In general, I would try to avoid the running backs, but I think they were going to really do a good job of running against that New York Giants defense. The New York Giants defense does have one of the worst run defenses in football, so I think they're going to be able to utilize that more efficiently. For the Cowboys as a whole, they went against 2 good run defenses in the Saints and the Ravens last week. So it's been difficult for Zeke to get going. But Zeke obviously is not going to be the same Zeke that you'd expect from, the Zeke days. Seems like so long ago, but it really isn't. He's still going to be, fat, chubby Zeke and all that stuff. But I think Zeke's got an opportunity to have success, especially since the matchup against the Giants here seems be a bit more favorable. And finally, I'm going to go with Devin Singletary, my guy. Been big on Devin Singletary. I'm going to continue to be big on him all year. Currently, the 17th ranked position running back at the moment. For Singletary, his weeks have gotten better as they've gone forward. He had 9.2, then 14.5, then 18.8 last week. He's had a touchdown in both those games. Honestly, his running has been fine. I mean, he's had holes to run through, which, for a short period of time, but he's a quick burst running back. He's been able to hit those holes very efficiently. Has had 2 games of 4+ receptions last week, 4 catches for 43 yards. That's going to play a big role for his PPR value. All in all, Singletary looks like another favorable matchup. I know Ramondre has on a really bad offense last week, and that obviously had tremendous down effects for the Patriots and Ramondre as a whole. But for the Giants, they're playing at home. I think this is going to be a better opportunity for them. And Daniel Jones has looked better. Obviously looked bad in week 1. has kind of been more consistent as of late, and I think that's going to continue here. Again, there's going to be a lot of, I guess, push for getting him to continue to be not necessarily their franchise quarterback, but a guy that can kind of do enough this season. And I feel like Devin Singletary is going to be a good scapegoat. I think even if Daniel Jones runs into trouble in this matchup, Singletary is again a PPR guy. He got 8 fantasy points as a running back just by catching the football last week. You add the rushing value, you add a touchdown value potentially. This could be a really big week for him, and I feel like a lot of people haven't really respected him as a RB1, RB2 type player just yet. For my must sit, I'm going to go with Rico Dowdle. I did mention this earlier, so I'm only going to touch on him briefly. Again, 8 and 7 carries for him this season. Hasn't gotten more than 32 yards, just averaging a little bit over 4 yards a carry. He does get some reception value at the running back position. I don't know why Zeke's been kind of trending down. I thought Zeke did fine in week 1. I think ultimately Dallas is liking to hopefully go to like a RB1, RB2 role like they did with Tony Pollard and Zeke. It hasn't been the case just yet, but maybe that's what they end up doing because that's where the Cowboys had lots of success. And that's where things like CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, those guys all got going. I think at some point it's going to happen. I think you have to wait a little bit longer, but for sure, if I had to ride a running back, it'd be Zeke. I feel like that's hard to say because Zeke, obviously hasn't been as consistent as, say, a Rico Dowdle, and even or even Dowdle hasn't necessarily been consistent. So it's one of those things that you just don't really know. And I just am a little bit skeptical about him. I am a little bit skeptical about Zeke as well, but I think, again, Thursday night, man, a lot of weird stuff happens. I think that could be one there. Sleepers, Brandon Cooks is going to be my first sleeper on the day. Brandon Cooks is the wide receiver 2 as far as listed on the depth chart. Is he the wide receiver 2 for this Cowboys offense? Who knows? He hasn't gotten more than 4 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown in week 1. 2 receptions apiece, 19 and 16 yards respectively in weeks 2 and 3. I just feel like he's poised for a big game. I know that it's a bit concerning knowing that Cooks hasn't really jumped off the page with having CeeDee Lamb have basically zero production so far. Not zero production, that's a little bit of a stretch, but zero production from CeeDee Lamb's point of view. So it's kind of a weird situation for him, but I think Brandon Cooks has the opportunity to get back in the end zone for sure. I think he can get upwards of 6 receptions, and all in all, just be a good option that nobody's obviously thinking about. So it's going to be one of those things that we have to continue to see what Brandon Cooks is going to do. Again, reiterating my point that a lot of weird stuff happens on Thursday night. Brandon Cooks could be the leading receiver. I know CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott had that spat. Am I super concerned about it? No, but I definitely think it's something to monitor moving forward. Nonetheless, I like this matchup here, and I think he could get some sneaky receptions and touchdowns. At the end of the day, we're sitting here with Brandon Cooks having 15 fantasy points, and probably not many people are starting him unless you have a deep league. My other sleeper is Daniel Jones. Now, I was a big Daniel Jones fan going into the season. Obviously, week 1 was disappointing. But since then, he's really stepped up to the plate nicely. He had 178 yards for 2 touchdowns in week 2, 236 yards for 2 touchdowns in week 3. Both those games, 0 turnovers, which is obviously huge there. Yeah, he hasn't gotten the carry volume as far as, 5, 6, 8 carries, sure, but the yards hasn't really been up there. 0 rushing touchdowns yet. He had 18 points in week 2, 19 and a half in week 3. I know Dallas is a scary matchup, but really, is it? Because their defense has looked dog shit. It's got Mike Zimmer, who, as a Vikings fan, I know was not the greatest of coaches, and it just hasn't looked up to par so far. And I think that's one of the things that has really kind of hindered his performance. And I think it's going to, or I shouldn't say hinder his performance because it's a team, hindered the Cowboys' defensive performance. And I think Daniel Jones will have an opportunity to exploit that. I always feel like in these Thursday night matchups, I'm always saying like Thursday night matchups are going to be high scoring games. They usually never are. Usually, if I say it's a high scoring game, it's a low scoring game. This time, I'm being serious though. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. Who knows, right? I won't be able to tell till the game happens, but it's something to definitely consider moving forward and see kind of what can come of it there. But I do think Daniel Jones has a great opportunity. Obviously, throwing the ball, it's not going to be like a guy that throws over 250 yards consistently, but I'm more excited to see that he's at least laid the foundation for his passing attack and can maybe step up to the plate in his running game, which would propel him even more and get back to that vintage Daniel Jones where Daniel Jones was running for a touchdown and tripped over his own feet. But if you're a dynasty owner of Daniel Jones, time might be running out. You might want to be selling the trades right now, especially since he's kind of on the uptick and he can go back down to the down tick at any moment. Finally, my bust is going to be Theo Johnson. I just want to throw a bust out there. I feel like it's weird if I don't throw a bust, but Theo Johnson, the New York Giants tight end, believe he is out of Penn State. He is a rookie this season. Obviously, really low protection. The main reason why he was drafted was because of him being a run blocking tight end. Obviously, he's not going to be catching too many balls, but I felt like, you know what, maybe, there's an opportunity that he at least should be mentioned because of tight ends kind of having success on Thursday nights, but I don't think he's going to have any success. If your league's a good like run blocking league and you get points for that, I think it could be a perfect opportunity to kind of be a sleeping option. But all in all, Theo Johnson, I'm not expecting a big game or anything like that. As far as my game prediction, I'm going to go with the Cowboys winning this matchup here 28-24. I think the Cowboys do come away with a victory. I think the Giants keep it close. I don't think the Giants are going to get flat out demolished. I think the Giants have definitely improved a little bit. Their defense could use some work, but at least the offense has taken some steps in the right direction. Malik Neighbors, absolutely phenomenal so far. Daniel Jones, all right. Singletary, doing all right as well. The defense does need to step up a little bit, but the Cowboys defense isn't very good as well. So I think they'll do a good job of staying in it at least for a little bit. It should be a fun and exciting game. Again, an NFC East matchup. Those are always fun and exciting, especially when these two rivals in the Giants and the Cowboys face off. So I'm looking forward to that later today. Thank you guys for listening to another episode here on The Truth. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure you follow The Truth on Twitter at @TheTruthAs1 to stay up to date with the latest information regarding The Truth, including podcast dates, podcast uploads, and other important information you don't want to miss. Make sure you guys also follow The Truth on Instagram and TikTok at the.tt.truth. Are you looking to find a drink that offers peak hydration, raises your energy levels, speeds up your recovery, and keeps your mind sharp through focus and memory? Look no further than Acid Rainwater. I'm excited to partner with Bloodline Sports, AZ, and Acid Rainwater, which focuses on peak hydration and productivity while also maintaining an ecosystem-friendly product. Use code HESSON15, HESSON15, for 15% off every purchase. As always, I'm your host, the one you love the most, Niall Hesson, joined by nobody but myself. Until next time, take care and good night.